We got called out here on the side of the highway for a guy in cities.
Break down inside.
Yeah, see. So, all right, so we're gonna go run the overhead after we put the new bolts in, put the new adjusting screws in on 3 and 4 where the bolts broke. We've already extracted the bolts here on the side of the highway. So now we're gonna go and put the stuff back on, put new, but these are all the tools that you'll need. Screwdriver, something to turn the engine with. You could do it there, it's easier because then you're pushing the pin time in, which we'll go over. 9/16 for the pin time holes and the plug. 3/8 valve cover bolts. 1/2 inch 12 point for the Jake slash rocker arm hold down bolts. So this is everything you need. You don't even need these if you're just running the overhead because you wouldn't need to take any of that loose. So anyway. Alright, so today's project is right here on the highway. People don't like to get over. They like to text on their phone, so it's very dangerous. I showed earlier a wreck in the middle of straight traffic because somebody's not paying attention, so it is dangerous to be out here on the side of the highway. Alright, so here's your pin time hole. It's already missing the plug, so we're going to take that out. So what you're going to do is take out these two. Use the long one for your pin time hole, right? Here's where you're going to put that one, right in there. And then take this. Ooh, that ain't been off in a while. I want to say the overhead hasn't been run on this in a minute. So then you just take your turning tool and hold on to this while you roll the motor around until it goes into a slot. And that's going to be pin time 1 or 6. You don't know until you look at the top. There it goes. Geez, we were just barely off of it. Alright, so now we're pin timed 1 or 6. I never leave these type of tools on because I've seen enough people spire a truck with one on a balancer or something and loosen the bolt or break your shit, so just a habit. But alright, so now we're going to go up, figure out if we're on 1 or 6. Alright, so we got to loosen all these up because we got to replace these. And we got to put this down because this has to come off in order to change out the adjusting screws that are, you see they're missing the buttons. That's from when these bolts broke. All right. So all Alright, so now I'm putting the new ones in. You can notice there's an update. It's an Allen head instead of the screwdriver tipped ones. I'm going to try to put them back kind of close to where they were. This one here, the threads are buggered up. So that's why after this carnage, and I looked at them, I was like, I'm not just changing the, I'm changing the adjusting screw, the whole Marianne, even though this is a Pat's job. The customer's like, I want it back to Roseburg for my shop. And I'm like, all right, well, this will probably fix it fine. I mean, this head's old. Alright, so these are all loose. Now I got all the buttons replaced, or the adjustment screws. Now I'm going to slide it into place. Not aligned to need my jakes. Alright, so just to get over it before I put this down so you understand what we're going to be doing when we set the exhaust lines up with the exhaust manifold. That's how you know which one's exhaust. They're not staggered, kind of like Detroit or whatever, where you can say, oh, exhaust side. So that one's always going to line up perfectly with the exhaust hole. So the jake setting that you're doing is going to be from here to there. You're going to have to slide that in once it's mounted. And the other settings you're looking for is going to be between here and that bridge. That button in the bridge. So now we're going to go ahead and put the top end back together and torque it down. Start at 40 circle pattern, and then go to 80, 60 on the nuts. Alright, we already did them all to 40. Now we're doing them to 60 on the nuts. And then we'll go to 80 on the bolts. Alright, we're on TDC 6, because I can tell because intake valve 4 is down. So we're going to adjust exhaust valve on 4 and intake valve on 3, 15 and 30 thousandths. And then injector, I don't do these very often, so when we're on TDC 6, we're going to adjust the injector on 4 for TDC 6. So check that adjustment. That's just with this little bad boy here. And you can see right there that it's, catch your lip, your finger on that lip, so it needs to be adjusted down a little bit or up a little bit to let that up. It's a little bit too tight. And then we got exhaust at 30 thousandths. Intake's going to be 15. 15 is going to be right in here. These are oily on purpose because they ride around in my trailer and I don't want them to rust. There's 15. And then out of this one, I need that 30. 30 is going to be for both the exhaust valve and the jake. So there we go. Alright, so what you do is you slide your feeler gauge up under the deal and you take the screw, so it could be a flathead screwdriver, and you want to adjust that so you have slight drag. It goes in and out, but you can feel it rubbing against something. Then you jack your screw down and you want to watch mine tighten. I need to get a ratchet for that. Alright, so now we're going to do exhaust on number 4. which is going to be 30 thousandths. So we're going to get that in there. Then first we want to tighten that down against that to make sure that all the oil is squeezed out, right? Then back it up a little bit so you get slight drag. You want to feel it rubbing against something, but not hard to move, right? So now that's barely where I can't move it, right there. So now the trick is to hold this so it doesn't turn any tighter while you tighten your jam nut. Now when you're done, you still have that slight drag that you wanted. Now your Jacobs brake, look how loose that Jake brake is. That's where you're gonna do your Jacobs. That's going to be this one up here, 5/8. All right, so for that we loosen the jam nut, grab your screwdriver, put your thing in there, see it down where it's at on that little piston. Now you're just going to move that down till you get that same slight drag that you had. A little too tight. Right. Right there. And you need to back it off to pull it out. And we want to lock our lock nut down without that moving again. Alright, so now we're at 15 thousandths. This is the intake because the exhaust is lined up here. So now we're doing intake on 3. Intake on 3. Ready? Brake. Got my own little football humor. Alright, so now same thing. We're going to squeeze the oil out. Get it a little bit tight. Squeeze that oil out of there, and then we back it off. See, my nut's getting tight. This is why I'm tightening down there. See, that's got to be backed off enough to let you get where you need to be here. Look, I didn't squeeze the oil out. Let's push it down the valve a little bit. Same thing, you want that same drag. And then tighten your jam nut. There you go. So that's intake and exhaust. And now we're going to do injector because you should, Alright, so we're going to adjust this because I can catch my fingernail on that lip, which means this needs to come up a little bit. The injector's too tight. So you need 1 1/8 here, loosening your jam nut, and then what you're going to do is back that thing up. See, now when I rub my fingernail across it, I'm only feeling that second lip. It goes right to that second lip. Now that's proper adjustment, and that was a what, 16th maybe of a turn. But you know, I had to have all this apart, so I'm not going to not do the stuff on my watch, even though they're saying, you know, they want a patch job. So now that the jam nut's tight, I still have that. I don't know if you can see, but now I go all the way to there. Now there's different people that'll say you want to be at the top, you want to be at the bottom for more power. Well, I don't think it makes too differently. Be in the middle where they want you. All right, so now we're going to pull our pin time out. We're going to move this just a little bit. Then we're going to go all the way around. till it puts that pin time back in. Then we're going to be on TDC 1 instead of TDC 6. And then we'll be able to do exhaust on 3, intake on 4, and injector on 3. Normally you'd do half the engine, roll around, do the other half, so there's 2 spots. You do, you know, half the valves on one spot, half the valves on the other. But since we're just patching this to get this guy off the highway, we're just doing the ones we had to take apart, and they could deal with the rest of their shop. I mean, I recommended that we went ahead and just ran the overhead, but this guy's not about that. I charge a premium rate when you're stuck on the highway because it's dangerous, and I don't feel bad charging an extra, you know, few dollars for me and my technicians to come out here and risk their lives to get these trucks back going. The cardio. And we're in. So now, pull your tool out. At the end of the day, we're done. Alright. Back running. This is a little jerry rig. This is different. So we're going to go off the highway though and go to the cat dealer. They have the right piece for this. So at the end of the day, he didn't need towed like everybody else told him. And, you know, million-mile motor, it looks like a million-mile motor. Another road rescue by Fagan Fleet Services. Yep, from carnage to back to rolling down the road. He said it ran better than it's ever ran. I don't doubt that. I wonder how long he was running. He went through 8 gallons. I had to put 8 gallons of oil in it. So he ran this somehow long enough with 3 and 4 not firing. Because once this happened, this is when those broke and they shot up and hit this. I don't think that was from them beating around in there, you know, loose. I think they broke and snapped up, and then he just kept motoring somehow. I don't know. But, you know, at the end of the day, got a hold of the right person. Everybody else told this company that there's no way they'd touch it. It needed to be towed. They even paid one other mechanic to come out and look at it that charged them for looking at it, and only to be towed, or tell him that he needs to be towed. Like I said, you want to pay the money to get your shit fixed on the side of the highway, you can get it fixed on the side of the highway. But if me or my techs are out there, they're getting paid a premium for risking it because of the amount of stupidity that people drive around with these days with their heads buried in their phones.